Okay, I want to welcome everyone to Tragedies of New Hope, Guy Heinze Jr. With me, Rhonda, Miss Jean, Guy, and Tyler's grandma, and Guy's brother, Tyler. Welcome, you guys. Miss Jean, how did you come up with the name Tragedies of New Hope?
Well, I have a list here to read.
Go ahead.
Of my opinion. The first one is 8 people brutally beaten to death. 3-year-old brutally beaten. Survived, but at what cost? Can you imagine the horror and the pain that this child must have endured? Number 2, 8 people lost their lives without police doing a thorough investigation. They didn't investigate all tips, collect or preserve or test all evidence. Deliberately, it seems to me. Number 3, there's several killers walking around who have gotten away with multiple murders. How secure should Glenn County, Georgia residents feel knowing the police can't or won't do proper investigations? Number 4, it's a tragedy that the Glenn County Police Department didn't respect these victims' lives enough to go to all lengths possible to find their killers and bring them to justice. Got to turn the page. Hold on. Number 5, it's a tragedy that they focused on Guy and railroaded him into prison. He hasn't had any time to breathe. I imagine he'll never get the vision of the beaten, battered bodies out of his mind that he walked into that. I'm sorry, people. It's my word against his. And I know I can't prove it, but the DA at the time told me that Guy did everything he could to anger the cops. This is paraphrased. This could be one of the reasons I believe that they focused on him, but they have taken his whole adult life away from him. Number 6, there was an incompetent jury. One juror seemingly had his mind made up that Guy was guilty before he ever entered the courtroom. 2 jurors were confused most of the time. One stated she didn't know why they wanted them there. The foreman wanted an airtight alibi. It's tragic that people like this are on the jury to decide guilt or innocence and definitely shouldn't decide if someone lives or dies. Number 7, there were 2 expert witnesses testified that there had to be several killers. Turn the page again, sorry. No one on the jury took any of their testimony into consideration. They each and everyone stated during the jury selection that their decision would be solely based on evidence that was presented in the courtroom. They didn't. Number 8, it's tragic that prosecutors can hide evidence, mislead and manipulate information, use innuendos, and send innocent people to prison and never be held accountable. That is my list.
Okay, and Tyler, before I ask your grandmother, tell a little bit about Guy. The guy everyone knows and not the one he's portrayed to be.
Hold on, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot I had to put my mouth on the ball. Could you tell us a little bit about Guy, the guy that you all know?
I mean, my brother, I feel like has always been like a very even-tempered person. Like all the memories I have of my brother, I mean, is me antagonizing him as a young child. I used to just terrorize him and throw stuff at him, and then he would chase me down, and I'd run and tell my mama. Like my brother never beat me up, never bullied me. Like he was always sweet to me. And as we got older, and like after my mother died, my brother was always there for me. Like he was always somebody I could talk to. Like he was 6 years older than me, but me and him would talk about life and things, and like he always listened to my opinions. He never shut me down. He was never like telling me, you know, you're wrong, you shouldn't think like this. Like my brother was always a person I could count on to listen to me and believe me, and somebody I could turn to if I needed somebody to talk to. And he always had like I wouldn't say he was a father figure to me, but he was like that in the sense that he looked out for me. My brother was always caring of me. Like, we had that feeling of it's just us in the world. We're all we got sometimes, and I felt like that made us much closer.
Okay, Miss Jean, what do you want to say about Guy?
Okay, I think he was like a typical child growing up. I don't know of any fighting or pettiness as he was growing up. There was sibling issues when Tyler was old enough to quarrel with him. He spent time with myself and my youngest daughter. He went on vacations with us. We had his fifth birthday celebration at Disney World. Him, my daughter, and my friend's family. This was shortly before Tyler came on the scene. He always liked animals. And the animals liked him. He was never confrontational. He didn't have a stomach for blood. If he hurt himself playing, he would just pick up and continue. He could have a knot on his head. It didn't matter. It didn't bother him unless he saw a drop of blood. If he saw a drop of blood, it was a screaming Mimi fit. It's bleeding. It's bleeding. His uncle tried to get him to help with dressing the deer, and he just couldn't help. He didn't have the stomach for it. Basically, he was a non-confrontational person.
Okay, now, for those, Brent, who just asked to give you a backstory, the backstory is Guy Heinze Jr. was accused and convicted, is now serving life in prison for a murder that is very impossible. Very impossible that he didn't do it. There's no way this guy did. We're going to go with Miss Jean. You're going to give us a timeline of that day, not the night. The 24-hour period. Read the timeline that you got from Guy. It happened in Brunswick, Georgia, New Hope Plantation Mobile Home Park, August 29, 2009. Okay, Miss Jean, you want to read the timeline you got from Guy?
They were found the 29th. The 28th, he said, then this is from Guy that he gave to me a few years ago. I got up about 7 a.m. to go to work. I'd meet my boss, Rich, at the entrance to the trailer park each morning for work. He and Zach picked me up and we headed to work. We were building a house in Eulonia. And we got there around 8 a.m. and worked till around 10:30 a.m. when we got off early due to the rain. We left Eulonia and headed to Longhorn Steakhouse in Brunswick to meet the contractor for a check. We got there around 11:30 or 12. I'm not real sure about the time, so I'm getting as close as possible in all this. I had no watch or cell phone. My boss, Rich, got a check, and we left and headed to St. Simon's Island, where both Zach and Rich lived. We stopped at the United Community Bank on the island and cashed the check, and Rich paid me and Zach. Rich dropped me and Zach off at his apartment, not sure exactly what time, but me and Zach were going to chill for a while and go to a bar later. Not long after we got to Zach's, we decided to go up to Bubba Garcia's restaurant to eat. I'm guessing by this time it was around between 1 and 2 p.m. We ate and headed back to Zach's apartment. We chilled for a while, smoked some marijuana, and I decided I wanted to go to Bonaventure Golf and Clothing Store to buy something to wear to the bar that night. By this time, I'm guessing it's around 5 or 5:30. Got to turn the page. My fingers are a little neuropathy, so it's hard to find. I just remember seeing all the traffic from people coming home from work when I left Zach's walking to Bonaventure. On the way to Bonaventure, I stopped at the Friendly Express by McDonald's where I saw my brother Tyler and some of his friends. He told me they were going to rent a room that night at the Best Western right down the road and to come over later if I wanted to. I gave him $20 then and told him I wasn't sure what I would do, but I'd call him later. I had called him earlier in the day about him getting me some X pills, but from what I remember at this time, we just agreed to get in touch later. By this time, I had decided not to go to Bonaventure and that I was going to call Chrissy and Joe to come to the island and pick me up and bring me some crack. Excuse me. So I called them right then there from the Friendly Express, and they agreed to come get me. At this point, I had decided not to go back to Zach's right now, but I can't remember if I called to tell him or not. I don't think I did. Chrissy and Joe get to the store around 20 or 30 minutes later to pick me up, and they have Michelle and little Byron with them. We leave the store heading to New Hope. Joe sells crack, so he already has the crack on him. So I get some crack, start to smoke. I really can't remember how much. We stop at the Peaches store at the end of St. Simon's Island Causeway. For some reason, I just can't remember why. And then we continue on to New Hope. We get to New Hope between 6 and 7 again. I'm not sure at the times. We get to New Hope, and everyone is there as far as I can remember. Dad, homeboy, which was Junior, Rusty Jr., Michael, Brenda. When I get there, I remember I wanted to shave my head, so I get the clippers and do this and then take a shower. Sometime after this, homeboy, Russell Jr., gets a call from his brother Pee Wee, who is lives in McIntosh, that he wants him to come to the Fort King George Motel in Darien to bring him some tools to fix his battery cable, I believe. So I ride with homeboy and we leave. I don't know what time it is, but I know it's dark when we leave, and this is in August, so I figure it gets dark around 9. We get there probably 15 or 20 minutes later, and Pee Wee, his girl, and 2 kids are there. We chill for a while, walk outside, and smoke a joint while he fixes his car. They want me and homeboy to stay and chill with them, I guess because they're bored. But we decide to leave shortly after finishing the joint. We leave, heading back to New Hope, and I remember us stopping at the store at the caution light right before the bridge leaving out of Darien. I don't even remember what we went in for. I remember because I saw the woman who owns the sandwich shop me, Rich, and Zach had been eating lunch at all week. We head straight back to New Hope after leaving the store. When we get back to the house, everyone is there just chilling as far as I can remember. After a while, I decide I want to go up to the Friendly Express right down from New Hope to talk to a girl who had previously given me her number and see if she would go out this night. I tell homeboy to let me borrow his car, that I'll give him a quarter ounce of marijuana and bring it back with a full tank of gas. I really have no idea what time this was, but I know the store was open and it does close until 11:30 or 12 on Friday night. I leave New Hope heading to the store, but on the way I start wanting to get some more crack, and I'm thinking I'm really too geeked up and don't want to be around this girl like this, so I pass on by the store heading to Brunswick on Highway 17. I decide since I already have the car, I'll ride around for a while. I go to Skibo's, a known crack dealer off 4th Street, to get some more crack. It's the kind of crack house where they have numerous dealers dealing out the backyard. A black guy named Crazy is who I believe I dealt with that night. I have no idea his real name, and I don't remember how much I bought. I leave and just ride around for a minute, nowhere particular, and decide to head to Barrington Park. It's a place I know that was safe from police, that I could chill and smoke the crack I had. I head back to Highway 17, going back toward New Hope. You can take Highway 17 all the way to either Highway 99 and get on the interstate and head to Barrington, or go all the way into Darien and go that way also. I see Loki, this is the nickname, standing outside the Friendly Express by Druid Oaks. He's over by the trailer park entrance, so I pull in and talk to him for a minute. But in his interview, he tells police I never talked to him. I don't know why. I really can't remember what we talked about, but I believe he was waiting for someone. I leave heading toward Barrington. I know this is supposed to be a timeline, but I have no idea at what time this is now. I get to the New Hope entrance and think about getting a little more crack from Joe. I really don't want Dad or Rusty to see me, because they'll wonder what the hell I'm doing. They don't really know I smoke crack like that, so I pull up like on the side of the dirt road entrance and run up to Joe and Chrissy's window. This is nothing new or out of the ordinary. I've done this numerous times, and other people go up to the window to get crack. The only people I saw at the window was Joe and Chrissy. I get crack, head back to the car, and go to Barrington. I hit Highway 99 and get on 95 and go to the Darien exit, get off and head to Barrington. I get to Barrington, pull over to the right corner by the oak tree where we have always camped and just chill, smoking the rest of the crack. I know I keep saying this, but I have no idea what time it is. But I run out of crack and decide to head to the Best Western to chill with Tyler and his friends and smoke some weed, take a few pills, and come down off the crack. I have no idea really, but I'm figuring I was at the river 2 hours or so. I leave Barrington, get back on the heading toward Brunswick. I get off at the spur exit and head to St. Simon's. I can't remember ever stopping for gas. I don't know if I did or did not. I get to the island, go to the Best Western, knock on Tyler's room, but no one will let me in. So I head to Parker's by the pier and call them and wake them up to let me in. I know it's around 5 a.m. or so now because I'm seen on the store camera and I remember them talking about this at the trial. I go back to the hotel and they let me in. Everyone is asleep. I go in the bathroom, smoke some weed, come out not long after Tyler saying he has to get his girlfriend and her friend back soon. So me, him, his girl, and her friend leave with Tyler driving in his friend Russell's car and go to the Island Club to drop off his girl and her friend. After that, I remember Tyler wanting some food, so we go to the Huddle House on the way back to the room, get him some food. A while after we get to the room, I decided I'm going to head on to New Hope. I have some things to do this day. I'm supposed to go pay the man at the trailer park in Darien where me and Dad are going to move his trailer. It's already getting daylight. I head back down 17 to New Hope. I pull in the yard, walk in the house, and that's when I start to find everyone. I know from the 911 call it's around 8 a.m. at this time. Grandma, this is all to the best of my recollection of that day and night. I wish I could have given better times, but I had no wash or cell phone. I can't remember the amount of crack I got either, but Shannon did the math and she came up within $10 on everything I said. It's just been almost 5 years and it's hard to remember everything. I hope this will help in some way. I know there isn't much to go on here, but this is what I know. If you're the producer, have any questions or want something else, just tell me. About Low Key, I can't remember who, but I remember someone saying he denies talking to me that night. But I also remember Newell at trial making a big deal out of the fact that in his police interview, the police never asked him if he saw me that night, like they weren't worried about verifying my story. As far as I know, the police never tried to check about me going to Skibo's that night either. It's like they were only interested in what they thought important. Uh, and that's the end of his timeline.
Okay, now, Tyler,
Yes, ma'am.
that morning he comes to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, he came that morning, and I had heard a knock on the door. Like, it was probably about, I would say 6 o'clock, maybe 6:15, and I didn't answer the door because I thought maybe it was somebody from the hotel coming because we just had a loud party that night, and I didn't want nobody like trying to start no problems or nothing. So then he goes to the store and he calls, and I believe my friend Ashley answered the phone, either Ashley or Russell, and they said, "Hey, this is Guy, Tyler's brother, let me in the room." So he comes back in the room, and we let him in the room, and we smoked a joint. We sat there and talked for a while. I think I had asked him if he had any crack or cocaine. We go out to the car, we're standing there talking, and in the middle console of the car was the Darvocets, the pills that they were talking about with the murders. The Darvocets were in the middle of the car because that's where they kept them in the car, so nobody in the house would mess with them. And I went and I took it upon myself to go in the middle console and take some of those pills. And Guy said, "Don't take too many because they're going to notice that something's gone." And I state that to say, though, because that shows in my mind that God knew that there was going to be people alive at that house when he got back, or he wouldn't have been worried about how many pills was going out the bottle. And I said, I'm just going to take some. If anybody says anything, just tell them the truth. Tell them that Tyler took them and you couldn't do nothing about it. And so I took the pills from God, and God leaves and goes to New Hope. And I'm maybe 45 minutes past 50 minutes. And God calls me and tells me, you know, Dad, everybody's dead. You got to get here. You got to get here.
Okay, we have to
And
back
so,
up, Tyler. You went with Guy to the Huddle House, right?
yeah. We went to Huddle House after we dropped Mallory off. The whole rush that morning was I had snuck my girlfriend and her friends out of her house, and we had to get them back to her house before her mom woke up. So usually when I would sneak Mallory out, we would go back early in the mornings, and she would sneak back up the house because it was a 2-story house, and her mom's room was in the second floor, like in the back corner. So she could sneak up the stairs and go back to her room, and nobody would ever know what was going on. We had done it a lot of times. So when we took Mallory back, it was me, Russell, Guy, Mallory, and Rachel. And when we took Mallory and Rachel back, then me and Guy and Russell stopped by the Waffle House. But I don't believe Russell got out. I'm pretty sure Russell sat in the car because me and Guy went into the Huddle House, got the food. And when we were sitting there waiting on the food, me and Guy were standing out by the newspaper machine because I remember looking at the newspaper machine, and we were smoking a cigarette and sitting there talking.
Okay, now was he
acting
strange to where the waitress had to call the manager?
No, I don't remember my brother acting strange at all. We were just standing there talking, smoking a cigarette, and I think I was asking him about some money because my brother had owed me some money, and I was asking him when he was going to be able to pay me more money.
Okay, and then he went over to, were you with him when he went to that convenience store, Parker's, right across the street?
No, I don't remember going to the park.
Okay.
With Guy.
All right. So now, Guy has arrived home, and it's 8 o'clock. So I'm going to share just 3 minutes of the 911 call.
Where's your emergency?
New Hope Plantation, Highway 17 North.
Okay, New Hope, what's going on now?
There's I just came home and his whole family is dead.
Tell me what the address is. Try to get that address for me.
145, 146. It's around to the back side.
Patient?
He just kept screaming on my dog was fight. He's got a dog out there too that on the porch that may bite. I'm going to have to try to contain him. This is Guy. I don't know what his last name is. He said his dad is dead. I see his dad. He said everybody's dead. I know it's a house full of people that live there.
Okay. What's his name?
He's freaking out. It's Guy.
Guy? What's his last name?
Well, Guy, what's your last name? What's your last name, honey? Yeah, here, something. I just call my whole family dead.
Okay, tell me what's going on, sir. What?
I just got home from over there last night and everybody dead. I went to my dad's dead.
How many people are there?
There's like 6, my whole family's dead.
Okay.
It looks like they've been beaten dead, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay. I'm coming for you. Just stay on the line with me, okay? They're coming for you.
Family's dead.
Okay, good. How many people are there? Your dad? Who else is there?
My dad, my uncle.
See it right now, ma'am.
He's on the porch right now.
He's on the porch.
Uh-huh.
Fire and whatnot.
I still hang on. I haven't the phone with him.
I'm going to say, is it okay if I stay on the line with you, ma'am, until they get there? Okay.
My name is Mike. I'm the main clear.
Okay. What's going on, Mike?
The guy that lives 2 doors out from me, his name is Guy Jr. I don't know his last name. He said his whole family's dead in here in the trailer. I'm standing right here in front of the trailer. I'm afraid to go.
Yeah, no one should go in right now.
Okay, I called the manager. She's supposed to be over there in a minute.
Okay, yeah, we have everyone en route for you. We've got fire and police coming to you. But I do want to stay on the line with somebody.
She said, yeah, Tom and her. You think Michael's still alive?
Someone's still alive?
Is Mike still breathing? I can't go in there.
Who's still alive? Which person?
He's a young man. He's kind of received Down syndrome.
Okay. Gene, I'm sorry if that upset you. Just, we have to tell his whole story, and that is part of it. In that phone call, you could hear you can't even say the emotion in Guy. He was traumatized. You could tell in that 911 call. He was very distraught.
He couldn't even get the names out.
No.
He couldn't even hardly get the names out. My dad, my uncle.
Yeah, and someone made a statement a while back in one of the articles that he said my mom, and he was trying to get my uncle out, my uncle. So it's like, you can tell by that. He knew Michael was alive. He did everything he could to get Michael help and get them there faster. But how did you find out? What did he say when he called you?
He called me and just told me that Dad, I'm pretty sure his statement was, Dad is dead. I don't think he said everybody's dead. I think he said, Dad is dead. You need to get here.
And how far away were you?
I was on St. Thomas Island, which is probably like 10 to 12 miles away from there. And I lived in Brunswick with my mom's ex-boyfriend, who I called my stepdad at the time. But yeah, he came to the island and picked me up. And then I went back to New Hope. And that's when I was standing there at the scene when the police and everybody were there. My brother was standing on the porch. And I remember the police were making a big deal because he had pot on him.
They would console each other.
Hold on, say that again.
Were you able to touch Guy, give him a hug, console each other? Were y'all able to have any contact?
I believe we got within like 5 feet of each other, and there was a police officer standing there, and Guy was just telling me, like, I don't know what's going on, man. It looks like everybody's dead. And I believe I want to say he was crying, but I can't say that for sure. I had took those Darvocet pills, and so I was actually pretty high myself, standing there and all of this. And I do remember thinking, like, this has got to be a joke. Like, what is really going on right now? Why would everybody here be dead? Like, my family didn't have no money. There was just no thought in my head I could comprehend why somebody would come and kill these people.
Okay, Miss Jean, how did you find out?
My son is the one who called me and asked me if the boys had called me. And had I talked to the boys, and I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, they've been trying to call you since 8 o'clock. Well, I left home around 8 or maybe a little before because I was on call that weekend and I had to work. And I had a pretty heavy load that Saturday. And after work, it was probably around noon or so before I got finished. And one of the ladies had told me they were having a sale at Dillard's. And there was something I wanted to look at, but I can't remember what it was. So I went to Dillard's. And while I was in Dillard's is when Eric called me. At first, I understood him to say, I was thinking he said Guy was dead, and I was thinking it was Guy Jr. And then after I screamed at him, he said, no, big Guy. I just put down whatever I had in my hands. One was a pair of Crocs, and there was a couple of other things I had. I just dropped it where I was standing and left, and of course I had to call my supervisor and let her know to get somebody else to be on call Sunday because I needed to go to Georgia. So
How long did it take you to
I
get
had
to Georgia?
I am not real sure. I didn't really have that drug out. It's probably about 6 hours or so. I was driving pretty fast, but I had to get gas. Of course, when something happens to the vehicle, no full of gas. Stop and get gas. I had to pack some clothes, get the dog, and
Were you able to see Guy at all?
not that day, not the next day. I actually think they tried to prevent me from seeing him. Alva Jean got to see him and talk to him, but I didn't.
And who is Alva Jean?
She is the older sister.
Okay. But you weren't able to see him.
No, I wasn't.
Now here we're going to get to some interesting parts. So you all might want to grab a pen and a paper because this is I'm going to give you a timeline. And Miss Jean, if I'm wrong on this, please let me know. I don't know who it was, Darius or Doring, said that the murder they gave it 6 to 8 hours. Am I correct? Within that time frame?
I'm not real sure.
I think they said that it took. Well, they did say that they had to be in the house at least 2 to 3 hours to do this. Is that correct?
I'm unsure of the time. I think so. From during court, the DA said somewhere between 12:30, 4 or 5 o'clock, whatever time it was that it took him to kill his family.
Okay. So this is where y'all need to get your pen and paper out. Tyler heard this, but this is the timeline from facts. So, Chrissy, Joe, Michelle, and Byron were on video at a convenience store close to 12 midnight that night. It showed them on the video. As a matter of fact, Joe's brother saw him and was talking to him. This was all on video. So they were alive at 12. There is no doubt they were alive at 12. They were only a few miles down the road from the trailer. So we can scratch off midnight because they were alive. At 2:16 a.m., Michelle made a call to a friend from the landline phone. The friend was asleep, but Michelle message. So at 2:16 a.m., everyone was still alive. So we had 3 hours right there because they were still alive. So let's scratch that out.
Did they have the message that Michelle left? Was it a distraught message?
It was not. The girl was asleep. Sorry, Ducky. The girl was asleep, her friend. And it was just, hey, or I forgot I can't find that article, but I will. It was just, call me later or something. So that was at 2:16 a.m. So that's the time that these guys needed an alibi for is 12 midnight to 5:30 a.m. Oh, they were still alive at 12. They were still alive at 2:16 a.m. So let's cross that out. Right there is 2 hours and 16 minutes. That guy doesn't need an alibi. So we'll go with, I'm sorry, I got to put my mouth near the ball. Hang on. It says they found no blood in the car, Brent. None. So let's go to this one. 3:45 a.m. and 3:48 a.m. calls were made from Michelle's cell phone. Now, let's think about this. It was a call to her friend, and the other one was a call that was an unknown number. So, we think about this. This could be, because it had Joe's blood on it, and his palm print on this cell phone. That's probably when the murders were happening. He was calling for help. Right. So he was calling for help. So he used her phone. He found her phone, or her phone was in the bedroom. It was from what I understand, Joe, Chrissy, and Michelle were all in that back bedroom. So he found the phone. It had his blood on it. It has his fingerprints on it. So let's say between 3:45 and 3:48 is when the murders were happening and Joe was trying to call for help. So let's just say this. Guy from 3 a.m. If Guy did this, Guy found some way to get in the car, go somewhere, take a shower for at least an hour. This is from the forensic investigator. Anyone who did this would have to have showered for at least an hour or more with a scrub brush to get every speck of blood off of him. So that would put Guy here at 4 o'clock. That would put him 5 o'clock to do this. And then get and then go hide the weapon and then drive all the way to St. Simon's Island and be there at 5:30. Now, I have a time on here that he was seen at 5:30 a.m. in St. Simon's. So, how is it physically possible for Guy to kill somebody, 8 people, fight them because
Breaking up, Sandy.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
How's
now.
that?
I can hear you now.
Okay. So Chrissy tries to escape the window. So Guy is physically supposed to be stopping Chrissy from going out the window, holding Joe back, and fighting. All this at the same time. And then get in the car, take a shot, or an hour and so shot, and then go all the way to St. Simon Island to see Tyler. This is physically impossible. There is no way he could do this. There's no humanly way God can do all of this and be in St. Simon Island as it was seen here at 5:30. There's no physical way. No way possible.
And he had no offensive wounds or defensive wounds on him.
Exactly.
So if you're fighting all these people struggling for their lives, somebody's going to touch you. Somebody's going to hit you with something. Somebody's going to get a fingernail on you, put an eye out, something.
Exactly. He's going to have, they were beaten. Yes. They said, well, he was beaten with a butt of a gun. I think the evidence was hidden because I think the whole weapon thing were the nunchucks. that had the blood and the hair on it.
None of the weapon marks I seen on the bodies looked like the butt of a gun.
Yeah, that leaves a pipe is different than the butt of a shotgun, and that's where the nunchucks.
And I think a lot of people think some of these people were just hit 1 or 2 times and incapacitated. No, they were beat head to toe. They had wounds from their head to their feet. These were not simple beatings. These were vicious beatings that would have took 20, 30, 45 minutes per person to inflict such beatings. Junior was stabbed 21 times after he was already dead. Somebody went back and stabbed him 21 times. Or 19. It was 19 times. And they knew that because there was no blood in his lungs. His lungs had already stopped pumping after he was stabbed because his lungs didn't fill up with blood.
And he also, I'm going to, hold on. There blood in every inch of that trailer. There was no way Guy did this. Walked through. He had to have gone, you figure, in the front door. And I think Toller Jr. was in there. The way Guy told me, Toller Jr. was in the living room. Toller Sr. and Michael slept in the bedroom that was and Guy slept on the floor in there. And then you had Brenda in the bedroom. Chrissy, Joe, I don't know where Michelle. I guess Michelle slept in that bedroom too.
Michelle was in the back bedroom. Chrissy, Joe, Byron, and Michelle slept in that back bedroom. Junior slept in the living room on the couch. My dad slept in the air mattress right there on the floor in the living room. Brenda slept in the next bedroom that followed in the middle after you passed the front door. And then in the back bedroom, my Uncle Rusty and Junior slept in that back bedroom.
Okay, now I'm going to give you, bear with me for 1 minute. Does anyone have anything you want to add? Miss Jean, Rhonda, anything?
Not at this time.
Okay. Hold on.
Not at this time. Guy was like 5'9", I believe, or 10 at the most. All these other guys were taller, but even Michelle and Christy would have fought like wildcats. There's no way that Guy could have done this without getting marks on it. It's just not
One thing I want to add too for people listening, a lot of people think that smoking crack makes you superhuman. I have smoked crack in my life, and crack is like a social anxiety drug. When you get high on crack, you don't want to talk to people, you don't want to be around people, you want to sit in your little hole with your drugs and get high. Smoking crack does not give you super strength. These videos that you see of people acting crazy on drugs is PCP and meth. Those are the drugs that makes people go crazy and berserk and have all this super strength. Crack and cocaine are not like that.
Okay, now I'm going to give those who don't know. No, Bridget, the nunchucks were, well, yes, they were collected. The police, pretty much how you can say they're gone. They're lost between an officer and the what do you call, please? Evidence. They lost it. I'm going to give you some, not blow by blow description here, but I Senior had 22 external wounds. 22. Russell Toller Sr. had 30 wounds, including deep laceration, nearly 6 inches long, that creased the top of his head. Toller Jr. had several teeth knocked out and was stabbed 3 times in addition to being bludgeoned. Michelle suffered 48 external injuries to her face, arms, and head. She also had broken bones in her left hand because she fought. That's why they all fought. Chrissy suffered similar injuries. So did his sister Brenda and Joseph West. So if you look at these people who had all exactly being addicted to drugs that make you a murderer, if you can see these, just imagine how bad they were beaten. They fought back. Guy didn't have a scratch on him, not one. He had a smear of blood, and it was not what they put out to be like his whole silk boxer or shorts were full of blood. It was a smear. Sat on the bed holding Michael's hand when he found Michael alive. So now we're going to go to, that's another thing y'all might want to take notes on. So, yeah, another thing. Here we go. The same trailer park. There were 4 people that lived in a trailer across the street from Guy and them. The police about these people from the beginning. They knew about them during the trial and never questioned them. And if you can look on a report, I think it's posted in the room that I had with investigator Michael Knox. Everyone knew about these people, but they were never questioned and never investigated. And they lived in, they didn't live, I'm sorry, been wiped on, not splattered. Exactly, Jody, sorry. Did I say splattered? I'm sorry. Right there in the trailer park. And I'm going to go through that one right there because, and Tyler doesn't know I was going to talk about this. I don't think so. So I am not mentioning names, but I'll give you as information as I can so you'll know I know these people. The father lived in this trailer there, right across the street. He had 2 sons. They were twins. The father was dating Brenda, who had died who was murdered. Let's put it that way. He and his twin sons lived for a couple of months in this trailer there in New Hope Plantation. Brenda was supposed to move with them back to New York. The whole family was upset and told her that they were using her for SSI and her Social Security. So when I talked to Mike, they living there at the time of the murder. Oh yes, they were living there at the time of the murder. Yes. And one of the twins, hello.
Sandy, we couldn't hear a word you were saying.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They went. One of the twins who lived in now I'm going to explain to you how I know where they lived because this person explained it. If you went out of Guy's trailer, if you went across, there was a road across from, they lived on this road to go across on the next road and there's trailers. Am I correct? Tyler?
What was the question?
If you went and there was a trailer, if you went out your house, there was a little road thing. The next road, there were more trailers, correct?
Yes, it was like a little dirt road. Actually, I believe it was the only dirt road in the trailer park. You turned off the main entrance to the trailer park down a dirt road, and there was one, two, three, four trailers. I believe the fourth trailer was my family's trailer. And then if you went back up the dirt road the reverse way, there was a whole trailer park in front of you. You could stand there and probably see 20, 30 trailers.
Okay.
Correct.
This person decided in the middle of the night he was going to go to the trailer and buy crack from Joe. I guess he wasn't at the window because that's where Joe did his business, was selling crack out his bedroom window. He went to the door. He saw the door ajar.
Come on, baby.
He said he pushed the door open and saw everyone dead. And he left. He also, when he got back to the trailer, really strange here, they packed up him, his other brother. There was a friend there. I don't know if the friend lived in Georgia or was going with them. They stole a white van that was there at their trailer because they lived with somebody in that trailer and drove all the way back to New York. Yes, they were still alive at 2:16 a.m. So this means it was after 2:16 when this person went to buy crack from Joe. Now, not only did they leave, they left that weekend. No one knew they were really there because they were living or staying with somebody who owned a trailer in that park. But they were gone that weekend. This happened Saturday, and by Sunday, they were out of there. They were gone. They were heading back to New York. Now, what made me wonder about this was Brenda had a pillow over her head, over her face when she was killed. And I asked Michael Knox, I said, Brenda was the only one that had a little different, right? He said, yes, she had a pillow over her head. And I asked him, I said, isn't that like a personal killing, like they didn't want to see his face? And he said, normally that's why they hide the face. So, at ample time. No, they never, who is that, Bridget? No, ma'am. No, never questioned. No, never questioned. But they knew about them. They knew about them before the trial and during the trial. They knew about these people and they were never questioned. Right now, one of the twins one of the other twins has a violent history, who is on drugs till this day, 10 years later, and he's still doing all these drugs. And he was calling. Who is that? You cracked up on the first twin. He is now in Fulton Jail in New York, serving 1 to 4 years for assault. Anybody else want to add anything?
I mean, I'm honestly, I remember the Hoyts, and they were really weird, strange cats, but I didn't ever remember them like coming off as like aggressive or evil. Which, keep in mind, I was young. You know, I wasn't really like good at reading people. I've gotten a little better at that over the years, but only thing that I knew about them was they were trying to use Brenda for her money. That was an open topic in the household, is that they wanted Brenda to come stay with them so they could collect her check and use her money. And yes, they were on drugs. That was common knowledge.
So for you to know this, could you, did you know they were there?
No, I can't even recall the last time I had seen them previous to the murders. I just know that when you went out that little dirt road, there was a as soon as you got to the end of the dirt road where the our family's trailer was on, there was a yellow trailer there, and I believe that's the trailer that the Hoyts were staying in, because I think the older Hoyt, Dickie Hoyt or whatever, he that was the trailer Brenda would walk over there to when she would go see him.
Okay, now in one of the crime scene photos, I don't know if Brenda was going to go to New York. I don't know. But I know that in her room, right at the bottom of her bed, was everything she needed. It's packed right there.
Oh, she was going. That was common knowledge too. She was going. She thought she was going to get a fresh start on life. You know, you have to keep in mind she had a stroke, and she didn't get around very well. And my aunt Brenda was a very agitated person. Like you could say a little bit to her, and it would piss her off easily. And she didn't like being around everybody there. She didn't like how many people were living in the house. She felt like a big part of her. She felt like she was helping pay the bills there, so she wanted more say so on what went on in the house. She didn't like that we smoked weed there and drank, and she felt like she was going to get away with the Hoyts and that it was going to be a more peaceful life for her. And I know her and Dickie, they were having sex, and I don't know if there was any love there, but I know that they were a unit. I guess you could call them a couple. And Brenda did feel like by living with them, she was going to have more freedom. She was going to get to go up to New York and spend her money and buy clothes and stuff. That's what she liked to do. She liked to buy clothes. She liked to thrift shop. And that's what she felt like she was going to do. You know, everybody in their mind has New York pictured as this big, fabulous place. And that's what she thought she was going to get to do, was move up to New York and get a fresh lot on life.
Okay, now on this, talking about this, it makes no sense why they were never questioned. But Brenda, for all those who don't know, Brenda was killed. She had a pillow over her head. She had someone on one side holding her down with a pillow or beating her. And then one was holding her, I think it was her left arm, to keep her from falling back. If you are going to cover someone's face when you murder them, it's because it's a personal killing. You don't want to see them. For anyone that didn't know this.
I think also like them killing her was a statement saying that they knew her physical condition, because if you were going to smother one person, that might be your motive of attack. You're going to go through and try to kill people kind of quietly, smother them, hold them down. But everybody else was in good physical shape and would have put up a lot more fight if you tried to kill them that way instead of just attacking them. But whoever killed Brenda knew that she would be an easy target to just simply smother her and hold her down. She wasn't going to be able to put up much resistance.
Exactly. And I think, like some of the evidence that was taken in, I know I asked Ms. Jean at trial if they had the the torn sleeve of a shirt that had blood on it that was outside back door. And that sleeve was not into evidence. I don't understand how that sleeve that someone tore off this person without killing them on it, and it was never put into evidence. Did you know about that sleeve, Tyler?
No, this is the first I've heard about that.
Oh, okay. Well, it's let me go there. Hold on. It was outside the back door. And it was hair from several spots in
Cutting out, Cindy. Bad.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, that sleeve was taken and put into evidence. They said they collected it, but it was never tested or into evidence. that was outside the back door. See what else? Wait, does anyone else have anything to say?
No, not yet.
Miss Jean?
No, not yet.
Todd?
I just want to say that, like, especially with the evidence that wasn't tested, and then after I found out about the nunchucks being collected and the links they went through to hide them, I don't know how long these investigators were doing their job, but I mean, this sounds stupid to say, but I watch Dateline and crime shows all the time. I'm very into that stuff, and anybody that's a thorough investigator would have walked in that trailer and immediately knew everything here is evidence. Everything from the second you walk in the door to every inch of that trailer was evidence. And it was admitted at the trial the police did not take careful steps to thoroughly collect the crime scene nor stop it from cross-contamination. Other officers bringing fibers in, bringing hairs in, tracking blood in different places of the house. I believe as soon as they seen Guy, they had some kind of conference and they knew that they were going to make this their main suspect, and they only looked for evidence that made their version of events valid, and they didn't look for any other evidence that would prove that somebody else had done this or that could prove that Guy was innocent.
Also, wait, can you hear me first?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
also, the handprint that was on the wall, they were told to only test it against Guy. Nobody else. If it didn't match Guy, don't test. That has to be said because everything that was tested only against Guy. That's it.
Yeah, and the blood in the back bathroom, from my recollection, didn't match Guy, and it didn't match anybody in the house. So that automatically proves somebody else in there was bleeding.
Exactly.
They actually tested.
No, them drops. There was blood that they said was in the back of the house that they did test, Grandma, and they said that it didn't match Guy and it didn't match anybody else. Remember, Newell and Shannon told us that.
Yeah, but I thought they said, I'm not sure now, I'd have to go through all these notes, but I thought they said that in the bathroom where no victims were was never collected.
No, they were never.
I may be wrong about the location of the blood, but it was either that back bathroom or the back bedroom. There was blood that they found, and I remember them telling us that they tested it and it didn't match Guy and it didn't match anybody else in the house. And I had asked Noah if they were going to bring that up in the trial, and he said if it comes up, we will make a point of it.
That's why I don't know why they did of the murders. Understand how they didn't go from 12 o'clock, they're alive, 2:16 a.m., they are alive. So if you think about it, what happened, let's say at 3:46 when the first call went out. So Guy fought with all these people in there, killed all these people, got in the car, drove somewhere, the weapon, took an hour-long shower. There's no guarantee he would have gotten it all. And then drove all the way to St. Simon Island and left. It was 1 hour. I timed this. It was 1 hour and 15 minutes. What is that noise? 1 hour and 15.
That's me.
1 hour and 15 minutes.
Also, if Guy had just killed our whole family, why is he going to come to me first? The one person who is still connected to these people, somebody who cares about these people. Why would his first human instinct be to come to me to talk and get in my face where I could see evidence of what had just happened, or maybe see evidence on him of blood if he had just done this? I mean, that wouldn't make no sense for him to come to me.
Well, it would also be a strange thing to do because you weren't. You could have, I'm not saying you would, but you could have lied and said, oh, I didn't see nothing. But there were many people in that room that night. Many people saw a guy and he looked normal. No blood, nothing on him.
Yes, and when we were talking that morning, we were standing by the car when I took the Darvsets, and I mean, it was just like a regular day, you know. Guy was talking about he was going to go back to New Hope, and he was talking about him and Dad having to pay that guy, which I remember that guy didn't have. I know a guy only had like a couple $100s, but they were trying to pay that guy because that guy was trying to had took that trailer, and Dad was suing the guy for the money, and it was a bad look that my dad had bought that trailer and left it there on that land and wasn't paying the lot rent. And I believe that had they tried to put some money towards that, that was going to help the case to show that my dad didn't just abandon the trailer, because that's what my dad had sued for. He sued because this guy took the trailer and moved somebody in, which legally the trailer was on his land, but the trailer was in my dad's name. So that guy had no right to do that. And so there was no like, anything strange is going on, you know, my life's about to get crazy. None of that from Guy. It was just business as usual. A regular day, you go and you handle the chores that you have set out that day.
And the person at Parker's convenience store also said Guy didn't act strange. He wasn't looking over his shoulder. He like he had anything on him, nothing. And that was.
What were you saying about at the Huddle House, the waitress calling the manager?
The waitress went because she said she was nervous being around Guy because of the way Guy was acting. It's in the reports, and it said that the manager came out there because Guy was supposedly acting weird.
He testified at the trial, Tyler.
Did they have any like footage though? I know the Huddle House has cameras. Like I don't remember why us acting strange. I was there with him. You know, I mean, I would have been called into the middle of that if we were causing a scene or acting crazy.
Yeah, and then right after that is when Guy went right next door to Parker's door, and the cashier. He didn't act strange. He wasn't doing anything. There was nothing unusual about him. But the Huddle House waitress said she had to go get her boss because Guy was acting strange and nervous.
Yeah, I think I do remember hearing that. Now that you say that, I think I do remember somebody saying that.
Well, they had to make it look like Guy was guilty. That's like that Stephanie, one of the police officers, testified that he was real nervous and acted strange, while some of the other police officers didn't. So they're just trying to push it on Guy. That was their goal.
But and also, I don't think anybody, unless you are like very in depth in psychology, can sit there and say, look at any person and tell their mindset at the time. Because if you just found your family dead, 10 people are going to react 10 different ways to that.
I agree.
You're not going to get the same reaction from everybody, depending on how much trauma you've been through in your life, depending on what your life's living like at the time that you have this incident. Your reactions are going to be different. That's just like at trial, then the jurors saying my brother looked cold. He had a stone cold look on his face. And one of my friends was talking the other day and said he watched a documentary, a dude that I work with, and he said the same thing. He said, yeah, your brother, he just didn't look like he had any emotion. He just looked emotionless. And I'm like, how can you sit there and judge what somebody's emotional state is if you've never met the person and you don't know what they're going through at the time? Because everybody reacts differently to things.
And they also take in consideration, Guy had there for what, 3 years before the trial? Is that correct? He had already been in jail.
He was in jail four years.
Okay. So he goes to jail right after this happens. And he had no time to mourn. He had no time to Guy. He's still living in this nightmare that he doesn't know anything about. He knows he found his family. He knows he hasn't been able to mourn, be with you, to be with you. He hasn't had this. He went straight from there to jail. What do they want him to do?
Also, with that too, the police, the way they went about things was very fishy. They tried to put me in a room and interview me, and my stepdad had came up there, and this like they wanted me and Guy separated. They didn't want us to have a chance to talk about anything, and it's like they had already painted out in their mind. I mean, which that is an investigative technique, I know, but they were already trying to put us in different rooms, trying to make us give crossings, trying to see if our stories crossed over each other and that we were lying. And genuinely at the time, I was never thinking in my mind they're about to try to say my brother did this. I was only 16 at the time, but that thought wasn't crossing my head that, hey, they're going to try to say your brother killed everybody. But I mean, I guess hindsight is 2020.
Well, they went to Eric and told him they had a recording of Guy saying that Eric took him over to the trailer park that day to do that. And of course, Eric cussed them out and told them they were lying. He knew better than that.
Well, I want to know one other question, and then I guess we should open up and tell people they can call to ask questions. But the police, I mean, not the police, yeah, the police in the courtroom and all of them were totally shocked that Guy was found guilty. They told Michael Knox they knew he was going to be innocent, and they were shocked that he was found guilty.
The reporters all were for sure. Now, I don't know about some of the cops. Now, I know the deputies that were in the courtroom that were working the courtroom. One of them told me he had already told Guy to pack his stuff. He was going home.
That's what I mean. Everyone was shocked. So,
and that's why, like in the documentary, when I'm walking out the courthouse, I mean, I was under a lot of stress, so I probably didn't say the words I should have. But that's the main phrase I got out was, y'all sat through the same trial. Y'all seen the same things that I seen. Y'all know he didn't do this. And that was my true heart was sitting there, and we would talk to the reporters in the hallways and stuff as we would sit there throughout the days of court. And nobody there even thought that the picture they were presenting was Guy was guilty, because just because he's my brother, I went down to that trial open-minded. Like, if these people show me cold hard evidence that my brother did this, he deserves to rot in jail, he deserves to go to hell. I mean, my mind was set on that. If my brother did this, he deserves whatever he gets. And when I sat through that trial every day and I heard the lies they were telling, and I seen that black guy Ronald get up there and say he was a preacher and say my brother said he was going to kill them all, man. And then they made his timeline. They brought out Rich. They brought where Rich and them had paid Guy and said, well, you didn't work with Guy until the summer 2007. This wasn't in 2008 when you said that Guy said all this stuff. And it was like everything in that trial made me believe my brother was innocent more. The police convinced me my brother was innocent more than they convinced me he was guilty.
Well, that's because they had no evidence to prove he was guilty, because Guy couldn't do this. So before we say anything else, if anyone wants to call in and ask questions, now's a good time to do it, because I have everyone that can answer. Tyler, I agree when you said every single thing in evidence is a murder trial. Tyler, I agree when you single thing. Oh, yes, Bridget, I'm sorry. If anyone wants to call,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Cindy, before you do that, I just want to put something out here. We do have a tip line, and it's down on the bottom. And we do have an email. And I want to let everyone know it doesn't have anything to do with law enforcement. It's personal. It's ours. So I wanted to let everybody know that.
Yep, that's the number again, Rhonda, and the email.
The tip line number is 971-512-8265. The email is wearetheirvoices@yahoo.com.
There will be nothing personal about your name. Nothing will be sent to anyone that has your information. It's Anonymous all the way.
I would like to say to Bridget, she is absolutely right, but I just wanted to let her know one of the comments that were made in the trial by the chief investigator. Everything is evidence in a murder trial, but his comment was, sure, we made mistakes, and they were saying all evidence should be tested. He said, we had to decide what was important. We could not send the whole trailer to be tested. Talking of defense of not testing the blood in the bathroom.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up because I totally forgot. If anyone wants to call in, you can call in, but just wait 1 minute. One of the officers, Officer, he has passed now, but everything was put in him. They said he was incompetent. He supposedly is the one who lost the nunchucks. He was supposedly the one who was a lot of the evidence that was never put in. It doesn't just fall. They were told by someone not to process evidence, not to turn in evidence. Owens now is deceased. He was with the department for many, many years, and he resigned. And after all the years of being with this this police department, no one but one person showed up to this man's funeral. And the only thing he did was do what he was told to do with the evidence. So we can't all blame Owens for this. I just
And two, there will be a lot of podcasts on this because we can't get everything in this one. There's a lot out there.
Okay, if anyone wants to call in, please call in. We'll answer any questions we have. Yes, they could have taken that whole trailer. They could have stored that trailer and going through that. When Michael Knox was the forensic investigator, it was a year. It was a year after the murders happened. He said he wanted to go in there, but he couldn't because it was so infested that he couldn't go in there and see for himself the evidence. This trailer.
And also the police department, which granted it was a large task to investigate this, but they were offered help from the Georgia Bureau of Investigations and turned it down. That was made common knowledge. They were offered help from other departments with this large of an investigation and said that they had enough people to handle it on their own.
Exactly. And he also said this is what he said. It was a huge mass murder, the first they ever had to investigate. They were asked from other law offices, law agencies to help, and he declined. The guy was arrested so quick to say, hey, I did this. I solved this crime in Georgia. And he didn't. These people are walking around free. One's in jail for 4 years, but they're walking around free. Yes, they did blame God from the Yes, it should.
Guys, we are waiting for a ruling from Judge Scarlett on a retrial. Is where the trial is now. We've been waiting since last year. He had a hearing December the 11th. We still don't have a ruling, which I think February was the last time for the defense and the prosecution to present their evidence, and then it went to the judge. But we still haven't heard anything.
Okay, now I want to go in here. Fiona, are you on? Senna, are you here? They all had something to say, but I don't think they're here. Okay. Well, you guys better know when the trial. Oh, when he rules, everybody will know the updates or anything that has to do with this trial.
T. Davis, it has to go through Scarlett first. If he denies it, it could go to someone else. But Scarlett has to either approve or deny first.
I don't think the judge is gonna go to jail, Travis. I don't think so, bud. I mean, I think everybody's getting away with this pretty scot free.
Yes, Scarlett has to rule. So right now it's a sit and wait game to see what the ruling is going to be. That they don't want to. That guy's been sitting in prison for 10 years for a crime he did not commit, and they are the real ones are out and about. Is there a max time he cannot rule for? Miss Jean, can you answer that?
Well, Guy thought he read in some law book that they have in the prison he had 90 days, but we know for a fact that Glenn County does what they want to do when they want to do it.
And it's been over a year, correct, Miss Jean?
It has been over a year since the hearing, yes.
The last hearing was December 11th, wasn't it?
Correct.
So it's been over a year waiting.
Yes.
Okay, Jean, Miss Jean or Tyler, why was the trial not moved to another county?
In my opinion, because Guy's defense painted the picture to me and my grandma and my brother that we had this trial won strictly on the fact that the state didn't have any evidence. Newell and them didn't try to paint any other pictures of what could have happened or who could have done it. They were so sure that we were going to win because they didn't have any evidence on Guy, and it was obvious to everyone that he didn't do this. So they didn't really do a big, thorough, put together presentation of we know Guy's not guilty because of this, this, and this. They just solely went on the fact that, well, the police don't have any evidence, and we'll be able to show that they don't have any evidence.
And for my viewpoint, I would not bet that Newell was not in on this. He told me before the trial that every lawyer in town said Guy would be convicted. When every time they had a recess, John B. Johnson went to the reporters and had a conversation with them. And at one point, I heard him say, this was in the middle of the trial, Guy will be convicted. How did he know this if they had not already planned it? I think they all, and I think Newell was possibly in on it, they knew Guy was going to be convicted before they ever went to that courthouse.
Okay, now one more thing. How many of y'all ever heard of a sheriff going to a murder trial every single day, sitting out there taking notes? How many of y'all ever heard about that? Not too many sheriffs do that. Or chiefs.
And the reporter, one of the reporters stated, I want to say it was the guy from Fox, said that Matt During had never sat through a whole trial in his whole career. That he would come and sit the first day or second day of a capital murder trial, but he had never sat through a whole trial in his whole career.
But he was there every single day.
He was there every single day, writing on his notepad. I think it was partially for intimidation, but I asked everybody that I could ask, did he attend murder trials? And was told that he didn't.
T. Davis, yes, he has a new lawyer now.
He has an appeal lawyer now.
So, everyone that's out there that's listening, because I can tell you I have 64 people listening to this. I just want to say that if you live in the area or you know something, call the tip line. They're gone. No one can bully anyone. No one.
You're cutting out, Cindy.
Leave a message of what you know. I will just turn it over. I will turn it over to Guy's lawyer. I will turn it over to anyone but Glenn County. I'm sorry, I'm reading. We got to get him out of there. Yeah, I'm out of here. He doesn't deserve to be in there. Was the jury sequestered? Anybody? Miss Jean, Tyler?
Yes, they were sequestered.
Okay.
Yes, they were. And that was the big deal when juror number 153 was removed, because when they're sequestered, they have guards around the hotel. The bailiffs are basically kind of securing the jury the whole time to make sure they're not getting out information, or they're not getting information from the outside. And that's why they made a big deal about getting him removed, because they heard him tell his wife on the phone, he said, "I cannot convict this man with the evidence that they have." And that man was a girl that I used to go to school with, Micah Edwards. It was her father, the juror, Mr. Edwards, and he worked with Homeland Security, I believe, was the job, but he had a federal job. He was a federal officer. And when they heard him say he could not convict this man on the evidence that they have, A, he wasn't supposed to be talking about the trial to his wife, but B, that let them know, the police and the prosecutors, the mindset that he had, and that's why they wanted him removed from the jury for whatever reason they could find.
Okay, yes. And just so you know, I have gotten more questions about this. I have contacted the Innocent Project. Everything has to be appealed. Once the appeals are done, they step in. They do not step in until every appeal is done.
And from what I heard from, I believe it was Kathleen Zellner of the Innocent Project, that they normally fight their cases on DNA, that there has to be a piece of DNA that they can go back and retest, or something to dispute the ruling that the court has made with DNA.
And just Dara said that the evidence as being the only logical have committed the crime, because he had blood from several victims on his clothes and what he was wearing that morning. His handprint in Toller's blood was on the shotgun in the trunk. Well, he picked up the shotgun. If that's the only blood, there's 8 people dead. How is his the only blood on there? I think the only blood that showed up was wow, what was that? The only blood that was Senior, Toller Senior, Michael's, and Chrissy's. And were them the same when he saw you, Tyler? Tyler.
Hold on, let me read the question. Yes, the clothes he was wearing, actually, he was wearing my polo shirt. That was my blue shirt that he had on, and those khaki shorts. I didn't know about the gym shorts that were up under that. I didn't know he was wearing gym shorts up under that, but sometimes we did that when we didn't want to wear underwear or didn't have clean underwear, we would wear our gym shorts.
Do they still have the clothing from the bathroom with the butt on it? I don't think so. Tyler or Miss Jean?
I have no idea. I don't think so, but I have.
Yeah, I mean, in my own opinion, I don't think that they're supposed to destroy any of the evidence, but I mean, a lot of the evidence got lost even before the trial. So I would doubt that anything that they feel like could be disputed in the future is still laying around where somebody could get their hands on it.
But the clothes out of
That's
the room and over there, anything that was in that bathroom and clothes that had blood on it was never collected for evidence.
I don't think so, but I don't think anything is left in the trailer.
I thought the statement was made at the trial that the clothes in the bathroom that had the blood drops on it were collected, but they were never tested.
You might be right. I positively say the opposite, but I would have to go through all of my notes again to know.
Cindy, you're cutting out.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, some of the evidence that never made it into the evidence lockup, they're gone. Would have proved without a reasonable doubt Guy was innocent with nunchucks.
Yes, and I truly believe too, with the amount of wounds everybody had and the defense that people put up, somebody else in that house was wounded, and there was probably blood drops that could be attributed to another person somewhere in that household. And that back bathroom was probably most likely the place.
That is why they did not test.
People, not person, people that did this, they had good thoughts for their life.
Breaking up.
I said the people, hold on, I don't know what's going on. The people that did this have wounds on them.
How do we know?
Huh?
They would.
You gotta know, that's common sense. I mean, there's no way that they beat all them people and didn't get touched.
I mean, you're fighting for your life.
If Scarlett denies the trial, I think it goes up with ways you some way to go at.
Okay, neighbors. It was stated no one heard anything.
Jody, the first go through Scarlett. If he denies it, you can go up to somebody else.
And
The neighbors were pretty close.
Right, they were close.
Not getting it.
y'all still there?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm trying to read. I would, in all honesty, I didn't see what that comment was.
The trailers were very close, like just very few meters. You could easily stick your arm out of the window of a trailer and throw a ball of paper and hit the trailer next to you. I mean, all of them were in that kind of distance.
And all the windows were open.
The bedroom window where Joe sold the crack I love, that window didn't even close.
They were not shot.
No, I don't think any neighbors were questioned.
Also, on the back of none of the neighbors being questioned, that's why I made the Facebook post about anybody knowing anything, is because there are people living in Glenn County and some of their family members are in law enforcement or know people in law enforcement, and there are things that are being said in this community that I know somebody has a piece of information, whether they think it's small or not, but that could blow this whole thing wide open, because people talk. That's what humans do. They gossip. And there is something somebody knows in Glenn County that could easily turn this whole thing around.
And you can also know that family that was the one right across the street from them. And if fear of retaliation, yes, you can call that hotline, and I don't answer it. Just leave your message. Brianna, justice system. Does anyone have any more questions?
Oh,
There's
yes.
been a lot of issues in Glenn County for corruption. The commissioner Sublett, I believe his name was Tom Sublett, was found with his hands tied behind his back, I believe zip tied behind his back, and he was shot in the head, and they ruled it a suicide.
And the gun not found.
How you kill yourself with your hands behind your back and the gun's nowhere around you?
Somebody wanted to call in. Who was it?
It was T. Davis.
Davis, you can call in.
Davis.
Yes, the sheriff's wife, the chief of police wife was the judge's secretary.
Go ahead, T. Go ahead.
Hey, Tyler, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, brother?
Hey, so, I mean, I just got a comment. It's not really a question. It's just the fact that if anybody knew how close Tyler and Guy were, you didn't really see one without the other. They were more than brothers. They were best friends. They did everything together. The fact of the matter is if Guy really did this, then Tyler would have known beforehand or right after. I picked Tyler up that afternoon. The morning that the murders happened, I couldn't stop calling Tyler. I went and picked him up. I hung out with Tyler for like the next 4 to 5 days. He stayed with me. We were together for the next 4 or 5 days. He acted no different. Of course, he was upset, but he acted no different. Like he was hiding a major secret or anything like this. It's just, it doesn't make any sense that, like I said, if anybody knew Tyler and Guy beforehand, they knew they were connected at the hip. So there's no way that it would have been not told to Tyler if this was a plan or anything like that. It's complete bullcrap. I've been trying to watch my language because I know your grandma's on here, Tyler.
Yeah, watch it. Now, let me ask you a question. Did you know Guy?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Tell
ma'am.
me.
I couldn't hear you were breaking up.
Hey, put your mic 1 second.
I can't hear you. Get one more time.
Can you tell us how Guy was?
Guy was laid back. I mean, he was easygoing. I mean, at the time, I mean, I don't like to put people's business out there, but I mean, it's my business too. At the time, we had all done drugs together. I mean, we had got high, but it was never any violent tendencies. I've been high with Guy. There was never any violence or anything like that. He was a laid back person. I really never saw him mad except for one time, and it wasn't an anger that terrified me, and I never wanted to go around him again. He was laid back and easygoing. He was not an evil person. He was cool, calm, and collected.
Okay, one of the guys that were across the trailers that I said I think were involved, he said Guy was very mean to everyone in his family, including Michael.
The guy, look, when this first happened, I told Tyler, "There's no way that I would have been more likely to believe it if Michael and the child were in the house. But those two people being in that house makes me 100% without a shadow of a doubt that Guy is innocent because he loved those two. I mean, he loved everybody in that house, but those two specifically, he absolutely adored. Mike was his right hand man. Him and Mike, I used to come over there all the time and see him and Mike out there on the doing bench presses. They worked out together all the time, and people don't understand. Michael did have Down syndrome, but he was strong. He would not have gone without a fight. He is strong. He honestly he could grab you and pick you up over his head and throw you at least 10 feet. He was a strong kid.
Hello to Indonesia. I won't even try. I know I'll mess it up.
Say again.
Someone called in from Indonesia. That's what I was on. They were wanting us to say hello. And I'm sure you don't have to worry about what I hear. The truth is the truth. And I have heard worse in the emergency room, trust me.
Okay, Miss Jean, what about
Cindy, you're breaking up. We can't understand you.
Yes, I didn't understand that.
the polygraph?
The polygraph was taken. He passed it, but the thing when they got in court, didn't get it verified. Apparently, you're supposed to have it verified. He lied about who he got it verified by because they were out of town. But a polygraph is not allowed in court anyway. I can't remember the guy's name that took the polygraph. I'd have to go through all these papers to know. But there is no doubt in my mind that no way God did this. God was tested.
Hold on, someone. Hello?
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 Yes.
Okay.
Rachel wants to know who was tested.
Guy with the polygraph. Guy.
A polygraph on Guy?
Right, correct.
Cindy, you there?
Before we get disconnected, because I only have 2 hours. Wow, I don't know what this feedback is. If anyone has any questions, please ask now, because I only have 2 hours.
Or if you don't want to call email the email address or call the tip line and leave it anonymous.
Yes, the tip line number is 971-512-8265. The email is wearetheirvoices@yahoo.com.
Tyler, there's a question for you.
Yeah, I see that, and I was going to say, I mean, I can't really sit there and say anybody could be considered uninvited there. I mean, it was a very open environment. Like me and Travis, that was just on here, we used to go sleep over there sometimes when we would stay out late and didn't have anywhere to go sleep because we knew we'd be in trouble. We could just walk in any time of the night. I mean, the front door didn't even latch, like not lock. I mean, it didn't even close. The piece on the door that connects to the house to make a door close was not there. The door, you could just push it with your finger, and it was open like that all the time. Anybody could walk in. Everybody knew that, these people just stayed here, and it was a low income household. What you would think of a bunch of poor people living in a trailer, that's what it was. And so there was never really, you had to be invited to come over. There didn't have to be a special occasion for you to come over. You could come over whenever you decided to show up.
Bridget's asking, did Guy ever mention anything strange happening before the murders, phone calls, threats, notes, or anything strange? Tyler?
The only thing I remember being strange about what I heard was strange before the murders was like a week before the murders, my cousin Junior, which was Russell Toller Jr., he had got a black eye. He had gotten beat up, I believe Guy told me, in a grocery store because he had owed somebody money, and the guy seen him in the grocery store and punched him in the face and said, "Where the fuck's my money?"
Your mouth, your grandma.
Well, I was giving you an exact quote. That was an exact quote.
Yeah, kind of tone it down, paraphrase it like I did. Somebody was heard on that train talking to Victor Jr. and told him, I don't know what the fight was about, but they would come back and kill the whole family.
I do remember hearing that story. I don't know if it was ever verified, but I do remember hearing that.
I don't know if it was brought out in my notes. I just looked at it yesterday, but I can't. I think the Calvin Hudson came up. They didn't interview the person that gave them the information.
Cindy, are you there?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, let me see. Tyler, answer that question. We don't know about Tyler.
Let me read it. I don't know, what people knew about the door of the house, because anybody that come over would know about it, because when you walk through the door and push the door, it's obvious the door doesn't shut. There wasn't a latch there to shut the door. So, I mean, only people who came over to the trailer knew about it, So, which also leads me to believe somebody that had previous knowledge of the trailer was the people who came and did this.
That's why
Most people lock their doors at night.
That's why that guy, the twins, yes. That's why he said the door was not closed and he pushed it open and saw everybody. Yeah, because they've been there. The dad was dating Brenda.
And they made a big deal at the trial, too, about guys seeing the bodies and saying it looked like everybody had been beat to death. I've seen a lot of crime scene photos, and when people get shot, you normally see an injury around the gunshot area. These people were beat from head to toe. That's how it was so obvious they were beat to death. Because if you were shot, you wouldn't see all these wounds from head to toe. People aren't usually shot and then beaten. If you're shot, that's it. You get shot where you get shot at, and those are your injuries.
And also,
They had, excuse me, they had long linear situations. No way could anybody with one eye and have sense think those were gunshots.
and also, the forensic investigator told Rhonda and I that anyone would have seen them, they would have known they were not shot, that they were beat. They were beaten.
Very true.
Also, another thing that was just brought to my attention that I should bring up too is it never came out in the trial, but these guys made a rap CD that we came into contact with through my cousin John Earl, and in the rap CD, these guys almost diagram how the murder went down. It says three niggas all black kicked the door in. First nigga I seen, I split his wig. We came for the money or the dope.
Who was that?
It was a rap CD that my grandma still has a copy of it, and they plays the 911 call. They play a bit of the 911 call, and then they start rapping, and then they play a bit more of the 911 call, basically as the chorus of the song, and they rap throughout this song about the murders. They said we put Brunswick on the map, but we did it the wrong way.
Who did that song?
We never found out who the CD was made by, but we believe it was the cousin of Ty Hutchison. Ty Hutchison was a major crack dealer in Eulonia, but I came to find out through this guy named Mike Felder of Darien that it was his cousin that had made the rap songs. And I never knew his cousin's name. I just knew he was a member of the GDs. He was a gangster disciple.
Don't be saying people's names. Come back to bite you.
Okay, Miss Jean, you need to get me that CD or a copy of it.
I have it written out, and I also have something else to talk to you about. I don't want to go in here now. I'll talk to you after this.
Okay. If there's any more questions, because my 2 hour live soon, and then it's going to cut off. But before we get cut off, I want to thank every single one of you here that are showing your love and support for Guy and his family. We're not going to get into it. Guy is free. Steak dinner, everyone.
Yes, I would like to thank everybody too and continue to spread awareness and note down everything you hear that could help this situation or hurt the situation. I want to hear everything everybody knows. So if you hear anything, please note it down and put it away.
Yes, and also use the tip line 971-512-8265. Email wearetheirvoices@yahoo.com. And I would like to thank everyone for being here, and especially Miss Jean and Tyler.
Is there anything y'all want to say?
No, Miss Cindy, just could you message me that tip line? I would like to post that on Facebook, that tip line number and the email.
I will. Is there anyone that had any questions at all? How about not? I'm leaving town Tuesday, the following Saturday, so any is fine. Miss Jean, that's your call.
My call. What is my call?
If you want another live podcast.
Well, if there's enough, I think it might be nice. Maybe wait a couple of 3 weeks or longer and let people think about it and think maybe if they heard anything, know anything. but if we can get someone else to talk to. But I want to thank everybody who came on here today. I appreciate everyone. Appreciate the support, the prayers, and it will be posted when we have the next,
And I will
if
get
that.
to Michael Knox to see if he will join us. So I want to thank the guys here. That is my saying. Yes. I will keep everybody up to date. Thank you all again. Tyler and Miss Jean, we're behind you 110%.
Yes, we are.
Whatever you need, we're here for you.
Thank you guys a bunch.
And thank you all for joining
I would
us.
like to say God has the final authority, and I know that this is wrong what happened to my brother, and I do believe that God is just using us as instruments, but he will bring my brother out of this.
Yes, he will.
Thank you guys. I'm getting off of
All
here.
right,
You have
Tyler.
a great
Okay,
day.
thank you, Tyler. Thanks, everybody.